A lot of world leaders flew to Israel to show solidarity with it after that shocking slaughter of 1,400 people, mainly Jewish civilians, by Hamas terrorists. That was 3 months ago. The slaughter and the rapes and the kidnappings that actually started this war, and that many activists of the left tend to forget. Our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese didn't go to Israel. Our Foreign Minister Penny Wong also didn't go. But now she is going, and to some Arabic countries and the West Bank as well. But once she is in Israel, she is not going to visit the sites of the mass murders. Not that the Prime Minister thinks it's his business where his Foreign Minister goes.
Is it correct that Penny Wong won't be visiting the sites of the October 7 attacks?
Well, Penny Wong's itinerary is a matter for her and
but you know where she's going.
I've got to tell you, what I don't do is have a precise itinerary of all of my ministers. But Penny Wong will be meeting with survivors and families of victims from the October 7 terror attack in Jerusalem. She'll also be meeting with communities who've been impacted by settler violence in the occupied Palestinian territories.
Now, the opposition is as surprised as I am by Albanese's uninterest in who exactly Penny Wong does meet.
It's time for Mr Albanese to take an interest in these matters and to direct his Foreign Minister to visit the affected sites so that they can develop an appreciation for just how significant these attacks have been.
Well, someone who has just minutes ago visited one of the massacre sites that Wong won't is Michael Kroger, as you know, weekly commentator here on the Bolt Report, and a former president of the Victorian Liberals. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Where are you in Israel, and what have you seen?
Andrew, I'm at Far Azar, which is one of the kibbutzim where the massacre took place by the Palestinian savages on October 7. We're about a third of the way down Gaza on the side of Israeli border, obviously, but there's destruction here everywhere. And to think that on that day, the Palestinians came across the border and just killed, butchered and mutilated innocent Israeli men, women and children. About 10 minutes down the road is the music festival site, which I've just visited. And it's a terribly mournful sight, Andrew. Flags and commemorations, family members down there. You can hear a bomb going off in the background. The Israelis are working further to get Hamas out of Khan Yunis. So that's what's happening there, Andrew.
Now, Michael, Penny Wong isn't going to be seeing the place that you're at, the kibbutz that you're at, any other kibbutzes that were attacked. She's not going to do that. She says she's going to talk to people who suffered there, the family of victims, etc. But should she actually go to these sites? What would she learn?
Well, of course she should. She'd learn how close these settlements are to Gaza. We're about 2 to 3 kilometres from the Gaza border. She'd understand how close so many Israelis, Jewish citizens are to an organisation that wants to kill and destroy them, which they have just 3 months ago, Andrew. She'd learn about the grief that's happened here in this part of southern Israel. And she might also be reminded, Andrew, that Labor's greatest ever Prime Minister, Bob Hawke, in 1973, after the Yom Kippur War, was the first non-Israeli to visit the Golan Heights. And this is before he went into Parliament, obviously. And perhaps more importantly, Andrew, she'd learn what Bob Hawke said in 1971, which was, if the bell tolls for Israel, it will toll for all mankind.
Well, there are some great Jewish writers who said that as World War II started to loom, Joseph Roth, Morris Samuel,
Sure.
They did that. And I think it's true to then, it's true now.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Hawke said that after his first visit here to Israel in 1971, and later on in his life, obviously, he felt more, he was concerned about the lack of progress for a Palestinian state. But Hawke understood Israel. Hawke was a friend of Israel. This is not the Labor Party of Bob Hawke. And for Penny Wong not to visit down here, I understand she's not even going to see the IDF video of the famous 47-minute video, which you've seen, which is taken from the head cameras of Hamas terrorists. She's not even going to see that, I gather. And if she doesn't see that, what's the point of her even coming?
Well, I think it's incredible the way this government's tiptoed, trying to play neutral in a war between democratic Israel on one side, terrorist Hamas on the other. Oh, no, I mean, it's terrible. And Hamas put out a congratulatory video about its approach. I mean, that tells you everything. Now, it's weird, isn't it, that Anthony Albanese says that Penny Wong's itinerary in Israel is not his business. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, that's just appalling. I mean, Albo is not a friend of Israel. He, of course, knows where she's going. He knows she's not going down here to Gaza. He knows that. He's a socialist left leader who is not a friend of Israel. Neither is Wong a friend of Israel. And Jewish people in Australia should understand that. These people are not your friends. They are not our friends. And to be neutral on a war between Israel and these extremist Palestinian elements, that's bizarre, Andrew. We should not be neutral. Dutton is not neutral on this. Nor would Andrew Peacock have been, the great foreign minister, nor Alexander Downer, and certainly not John Howard. You think John Howard would be neutral on this issue? Of course not. There should be no neutrality. But Wong and Albanese are clearly intimidated by some of these extremist demonstrations, which have as at their underbelly this sort of neo-Nazism of sort of trying to push Israel back into the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, this is sick stuff. If you don't have moral clarity on issue on Israel, on this issue on Israel, then that says everything about you. And if Penny Wong is not coming down here to these areas and learning and seeing for herself what's happened, then that is a shocking embarrassment for Australia and a blight on her and the Albanese government, Andrew.
Well, if their excuse is they don't want to inflame community tensions here, I tell you it's failing. You mentioned some of the protests here. We've had more of that anti-Jewish hate this war has unleashed. That's making many Jews feel unsafe. You had Melbourne's Beth Weitzman Jewish Community Centre being attacked again. You've had protests in Canberra today abusing Israeli diplomats over there. Have a look.
You, Israeli diplomats, you murderers, you will not be welcome here.
In fact, Michael Kroger, you've got a Jewish man who's been told by a couple he got closer, they're cancelling their plans for him to be their sperm donor because he was Jewish. You've had Rufi Geminder, one of Australia's richest men, has been the honorary consul for South Africa for 17 years. He just announced he's quitting. He's resigning in protest because South Africa is taking Israel to the International Criminal Court of Justice, accusing it of genocide. It's also hosted an official from Hamas since the slaughter. I mean, what do the Jews in Israel make of all this?
Well, Andrew, Israel will never be the same. There's this view in Israel over the years that, hey, it's just one rocket, one bomb, one stabbing, one knifing. They have a word. They have a word for it here, which describes the fact that hey, you shrug your shoulders. It's just one issue. But the truth of the matter is, Andrew, that Israel will not stop. They cannot stop. Israel has been changed forever. You cannot have people coming across the border, slaughtering innocent women, men, children, and then beheading them. I know you've seen the video, and I know some of the atrocities we're not allowed to talk about on television, but quite frankly, these Palestinian savages who garroted a pregnant woman down here and what they did to the baby. I mean, Israel is not going to put up with this any longer. Netanyahu, we all know his problems and issues. The Israeli people are absolutely resolute. They are going to defeat Hamas in Gaza. They are going to capture or kill Sinwar and Deif and put an end to it. Everyone's then going to work towards a Palestinian state where presumably the Palestinian Authority is going to have a very strong leadership position, although Abbas, their leader, is 7 years older than Joe Biden. And you're going to find a lot of the more moderate Arab states helping to build a lasting peace in the Middle East. The great irony that the press don't report, Andrew...
Well, the big question mark in all that, Michael, is whether the West will give Israel the time it needs to achieve all that. And it's looking ugly on that front. But let us see. Let us see. Michael Kroger, great to hear from you. We'll talk to you again later this week because I think this is a really important history lesson. Australians, particularly some radical Aboriginal activists, need to learn about Israel. And I want to talk to you about that later. Look after yourself. Thank you.